get back to work. Some of our presenters have to go back to work. Right. Here to present our next item is Colette Scrimger. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners the attached letter of agreement between the Barry Eaton District Health Department and Blue Zones LLC to provide office space.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Geiger, support by both of those guys. So, no,
We're a team.
the floor is yours.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for having us today. I'm going to start out by turning things over to Cheryl Lewis Blake, who will give you some background on what Blue Zones is for those of you who aren't familiar. And then with that background in mind, then I can go ahead and explain what the request is that we've brought forward. So Cheryl.
Thank you. I'm Cheryl Lewis Blake. I'm a volunteer today, although I've had a background, of course, in healthcare. I'm a resident of Barry County and currently live in Rutland Township. And the reason I'm here today as a volunteer is because I am pretty enthused about an opportunity that we have in our county and in our city of Hastings to make a huge impact on health for our community. And so I want you to pause with me for just a minute and ask the question with me, why couldn't our county, Barry County, have the highest quality of health care? Why couldn't we be the healthiest community in Michigan? Why couldn't we be the healthiest in the Midwest? Why couldn't Barry County be the place in the United States? What would happen if our grandchildren, or our children, depending on your age, could live longer, healthier, and happier lives? And what if it wasn't so hard for us to do because our surroundings made it the easiest choice? In fact, I recently learned that we spend 90% of our time in the same places and that our environment actually dictates how easy it is to make healthy choices or to not make healthy choices. And so what would happen if you, as leaders, made it easier for those that you represent to get up and move, to eat healthy, to make new friends, help folks find a reason for being, and even perhaps even a more reason to start serving and volunteering? Well, I believe implementing Blue Zones and having a Blue Zone project for our community could fundamentally transform healthcare in our community. So some of you know what this is, but let me start by giving just a couple-minute overview of Blue Zones. So Blue Zones is based on a national research project that was done actually by National Geographic and a gentleman by the name of Dan Buettner. And the study was done over a decade ago, and it was published in National Geographic. Their objective was to identify communities where citizens' longevity, and that's defined as people who live over 100 years of age, occurred. And then they spent time trying to figure out and discover and publish the whys and the hows. What commonalities around the world communities have where people live longer, happier, healthier lives? Well, they found out there were 5 places. And as an example, I won't go into those, but if you decide that you want to Google Blue Zones, you can read about these really cool places. I've decided I may want to visit them one of these days. One is in Sardinia. Another is in Japan, and actually Loma Linda, California is an area as well. Now the research uncovered those basic similarities, and I think that by doing a Blue Zones project, we can adopt actually principles, policies, and programs and replicate stuff for us as individuals, for us as our children, and then of course for our grandchildren. So how does it work? That would be always my question, right? Well, what does it really mean? So Blue Zones project is a systems approach in which schools, employers, churches, agencies, grocery stores, restaurants, elected officials, community leaders, and citizens collaborate on policies and programs to move our community toward better health and well-being. Now, the project is pretty exciting because there's funding from multiple sources to make the Blue Zones project work. And hopefully it will start the beginning of September. So the multiple funding sources are individual community members that have already given thousands of dollars, foundations here in town, individual businesses, and other agencies. The Community Foundation is going to be the fiduciary for the project, and it's a highly collaborative initiative that'll provide a framework or umbrella structure for much of the good work that is already going. I was talking just a few minutes ago, and if you think about the concept of braiding, it's like we have all this good stuff happening in Berry County, but we don't have an umbrella really to orchestrate it. So think about our parks, our bike trails, our already community spirit of volunteerism, our Be Healthy Coalition, the YMCA, Pierce Cedar Creek, 4-H, and even school leadership. So you may say, okay, fine, Cheryl, but what are the details? What's the activities? How do you activate Blue Zones? So it's pretty simple. You start the project and there's 4 arenas that you go through. First, you do discovery because you want to inventory what your community already has, right? You don't want to start something if it's already going by another agency. You identify the strengths and weaknesses. Then you take, with Blue Zones and their national research abilities, you do a comprehensive analysis of findings, and then you customize recommendations from what you've learned from these 5 communities about what the overlay and how it can work here in Berry County. You, of course, collaborate with community leaders and stakeholders, and then you figure out how to do both policy and programs. And then what do? You work the plan. So there's several components that are involved. You continue to work on building your environment, and so you take the work that we've gone and done already and focus on it. You work on food systems in the school, you work with restaurants, you do a citizen engagement and awareness project. Of course, you work with PR and media. There's grants that are available both nationally and within the state of Michigan, so you apply for those. You do additional fundraising. Blue Zones brings a whole system of project management, so you get some good expertise. And then you need to do measurement and reporting. So when I was first learning about this, my question was, well, fine, but has it actually worked in other communities? And you know the old adage, right? In God we trust, everyone else bring data. And so I won't go through all of the details of the 5 communities because I'd encourage you to truly Google that and read. But here in the United States, a couple communities have some experience. Alberta Lee in Minnesota has a decade, and they've decreased absenteeism of their city workers by 20%. Their city health claims, as an example, went down by 49%. It's huge. That's lots of money and lots of good health. In Beach Cities, California, they actually reduced their community obesity rate by 14%. They increased through a project of eating well, kids' improvement of eating by 9%. They did another focus group and a target and increased exercise by 10%. And pretty exciting, they decreased tobacco use in the county by 30%. That's really impressive. And in Spencer, Ohio, there's some other statistics that, again, involve health claims and also improve movement. So my life mission has been to serve the health needs of the community. I heard someone over there as I was starting to talk, they said, oh, Spectrum Health. But I served in the sick side of health for all of that time. And so being able to be proactive, be leaders of change. I think that we have a rare opportunity to create a shared vision for the county of actually impacting health, as I said before, not only for us as individuals, but for those we serve and for the generations to come. And so with that, we need the Department of Health to help with an office. And so Colette will talk about those details.
Sure. Thank you. Blue Zones Initiative is really public health. That's what it comes down to. It's about investing in your public health system and doing more work to protect and promote health in the community with a focus on that promotion of health. And so that's why the health department has been engaged in this process. When some of the other community leaders brought forward the concept of blue zones, they invited us to participate, and we've been involved in the conversations with them from the beginning. And as the community became more and more interested in this and wanting to see it happen, they started to talk about, how do we make this happen? It's a huge investment that the community is making into this initiative, and they were looking for all partners to offer some resources that could help make it happen. And so when we were approached about what we could do as the health department, of course, many of the things that Blue Zones focuses on are things that we're already trying to do, but we're doing at a much smaller scale. And what Blue Zones will allow us to do is really expand and enhance and emphasize the good work, as Cheryl said, that Berry County is already doing. And so at the health department, we didn't necessarily have funding that we could put on the table like some of the other partners in the project. But what I did offer that we can do is consider providing space. In the initial proposal for the Blue Zones Initiative, there was an intent to lease office space somewhere in the community. And so as an effort to save on the cost of the program, we had offered that perhaps the Blue Zone staff could share our office space, since we do have some excess space within our current building. And so that's the proposal that I have worked out with Blue Zones, and we're seeking your support of that. Obviously, the building is not the health department's building to offer up, but it's a great partnership for us to consider, and there's some natural affiliations that happen there, since the Blue Zone staff will be working very closely with some of my staff that work on many of the initiatives in Berry County. And so you should have a draft of the agreement that we had put forward to Blue Zones that they have agreed to, if it's approved by all of you. And essentially, we're offering, in addition to just the office space for the Blue Zone staff, also some support with, a laptop and network support and sort of those kinds of things, which are things that will not be provided by Berry County, but will be provided through the health department system. So that is the request before you, is to allow the Blue Zone staff person to occupy some of the excess space that we have in our facility under the terms that I have outlined. And the commitment for that, although we would intend that would be, the life of the project, certainly not knowing how far this will go or how far it will expand, it can be reconsidered at any time, and there is an option to give a 30-day notice to cancel that if reasons present that we can't continue that partnership.
Thank you. Questions?
Is there any other counties in Michigan that have the blue zones?
Berry County would be the first. And that's part of the attraction of saying, well, why not? We can be the first in the state.
So I was involved in some of the first meetings for the Blue Zone, but then it kind of seemed that it was kind of just going to be the city of Hastings.
What, I'm sorry?
The city of Hastings, and not the entire county.
To my knowledge, we have always planned on having it be a county. Some of the original talks and discussions on initiatives, whether it be bike trails or other food pieces in schools, we've looked at it as on a county basis.
Oh,
So that might be a change, but I wouldn't be aware of that. I think it's county.
Yeah, there was they were looking at two different proposals that would focus City of Hastings only versus Berry County. In the end, they decided to go Berry County fully.
Because I couldn't think of anybody that sat from the county on any of those meetings or anything. So like I said, I attended the first 2 or 3, but looked like they were gonna go with just the city. So
Yeah, no, they're looking at it as a countywide initiative.
the other thing is why we're not done with our study for the buildings yet. I mean, we're not done with that. So that's kind of the thing, is that I hate to commit and then change based on what we find out from our studies with Tower Pinkster.
May I respond to that? I would say that wouldn't necessarily be a big deal because there's a 30-day notice to be given. And depending how the project grows, there may be a different location that we all say, oh, we should have blue zones located in X spot. But having it, especially in the formation time, be with the Department of Health makes so much sense because that's kind of their purpose and mission as well.
Commissioner Geiger?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was my question. First of all, thank you for your presentation, and I was involved, or did attend some of the Blue Zone conversations early on. Vivian did ask my question, would it be a challenge if the county decided to reuse the health department space? And you're only looking for one office?
At this point, there's only one official staff person for Blue Zones, but, you know, as Cheryl said, how it expands and grows over time, we don't know. And so we would just continue to evaluate that as the needs presented. They will be able to use our conference rooms for meetings, which is a big part of what they'll be doing, and then have, you know, some growth or some flexible space for volunteers as they need
Right.
to do that as well.
Great. I have no problem with offering up a desk for an individual, with the understanding that you know that we might repurpose the building. But I do have one request, if this board does approve your letter of agreement. Specifically, in return, Blue Zones will agree to the following terms. Number one, ensure that the BEDHD is recognized for the contributor of the Blue Zones. I think it might be appropriate to add in that the Berry County Board of Commissioners and the BEDHD are supportive, being that we give our support in terms of space in conjunction with the health department. Is that a problem?
That's great. Are you kidding? The more, this is not a exclusive. This is more collaboration, the better.
Great. Thank you.
Dan?
Well, I think it's an economic thing too. I think people that are looking for those kind of programs to raise their children in will come to Berry County because of that. Especially if we got a chance to be one of the first ones involved with it. And if it's done properly and professionally, and go at it. And I think that's a first start, is to offer the office space for it. I just want to make sure that we're covering all the expenses through Blue Zone that Blue Zone will be using. But I'm excited about that possibility, so I think it'll be good for Berry County and for the residents.
Dave, I know that's your motto, go blue.
Yeah, that's a good thing, exactly. Can you expand on how we got blue zones in Berry County? I mean, when you look at what made Berry County an acceptable, I don't know if target market is the right word, but why? Because I know I've read the book, I've got their emails and gone through. I know the program's fantastic for what they do and what they promote. So, I mean, there's no downside to it. The downside would probably be cost.
Right.
But when you have a generous community who's really stepped up and offered to pick up the tab for a lot of I mean, this is a 3-year rollout
Your
program to start
commitment,
with?
yeah. So I don't have the budget in front of me. It's the activate stage. But what's exciting is that there's individual community members that have given a lot of money, but there's businesses in town that have said, boy, I can save costs for my workers. And then there's other agencies, and then of course the foundations in town have given money. So that's pretty exciting. How we got here, the reason that I'm here today is because Allison Wiswell and Janine Dahlman are both on vacation. And so Allison would have been here. She has worked in the business world in trying to help employers decrease healthcare costs for a long, long time. And she learned about Blue Zones and became passionate about the program. And she and her husband Tom have a daughter, and they're like, well, we're gonna live the rest of our lives in Berry County, right? Well, let's make this the very best place we could. And why not do something innovative, proactive, unique? And Blue Zone seems to pull together so many of the values that we have in Berry County, so many of the already assets that we have, but it hasn't been put together and packaged or braided very well. And so Blue Zones offers that springboard, and in some ways it's marketing, because you can also be the first and only Blue Zone community in the state, but it's bigger than that because we can tack names on things and it doesn't really improve our health. Being able to use the data and the statistics and the measurements and to be able to prove to ourselves and to others what we've done is pretty exciting. So it's Allison Wiswell, and then she got other community leaders interested and involved, and then the foundation with the hospital foundation, the community foundation, sponsored the first visit. And from there, we've been rolling ever since.
Okay, so this is a 3-year initiation phase. I know you had mentioned Nick City or Minnesota, they're in their 10th year or over their 10th year.
And we had people go, I didn't go, but there were community members that traveled from Hastings to Alberta Lee to talk with their county commissioners, to talk with their business leaders, and to talk with the people who are the staff.
Okay, and you see sustainable funding, in place for this going forward?
I do. I mean, I would love to say, yeah, we have the grants, but of course we haven't done the assessment part. We haven't, it's too early. It's an evolution, and so it'll take us some time to be able to get all of that. But when you have demonstrable outcomes, people usually want to join on your bandwagon.
Well, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction because we're not doing enough to promote good health and healthy choices. And I think you mentioned 90% of the choices you make are involved in your environment, your immediate environment. So if we can change some of that. And I forget where I was at, but we pulled into a parking lot and they said Blue Zone parking. Of course, it was way away from the building. So, they were
Exactly.
encouraging steps, but, so it's a mindset change and a lifestyle change, but I think Berry County would definitely benefit, from having this in our community. So I will support this. So.
It's a great example. Individual nudges. It's not one giant thing that you do. It's hundreds of nudges.
Do we have any problem with confidentiality? HIPAA or anything like this seems are not a health department employee.
The location that the person will be sitting is in an area of staff that are not dealing with direct patient confidentiality at this point in time. But we will also have her signing, the staff person signing a confidentiality agreement in case they by chance overhear something or come across a document or something that, is specific health department business.
Is this something that is going to be manned every day, or is it just going to be hit and miss the person can?
I can, in my conversations with Allison in terms of what the, it's a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 type job, although there's certainly occasional things for evenings and weekends, but she won't be an employee of the health department. She'll be working for Blue Zones. And so her schedule will be set by what business she needs to do for Blue Zones. And so I imagine she will not be sitting at her desk Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I imagine a big part of her job will be out in the community, meeting with people, talking with people, attending meetings, and that kind of thing.
So,
Any other questions? I think my concern is, along with the space being dedicated to that, if we choose to do something different with the building, is the technology, the laptop, the computer, the software storage and stuff. I think that is a concern based that your IT is in Eaton County. And this is a Berry County project that if by chance they have to move, then they have to transfer all of their data, storage, everything from the Eaton County system to either a standalone or a Berry County system. I'm concerned with their data support, not being able to follow them well if they should happen to move from the health department, say the program gets big and they do get a storefront or whatever, changing that support system down the road. I think developing something standalone on their own would be better, or incorporating it into a Berry County system rather than an Eaton County system. I just think that there's a window for glitches, technical term, glitches.
I did review that with our IT and with Allison in terms of what the needs are and what the possibilities are. There were lots of options to look at for that, but given the startup nature of the initiative and the resources that they need in terms of, having access to a printer and just limited resources, it made most sense for right now to just put them onto our network, so that they can have access to some of the resources that we have available in the building. And then, but we will be sort of packaging it in a way that if at any point in time they're separating away from us, that things can be transferable. For the most part, Blue Zones is only going to have things like Word files and Excel documents and PowerPoint documents that's very mobile, and they'll be able to transfer that pretty easily once they establish if they were to establish a new office system. So we felt like that is going to be the easiest and least expensive way to have them get on board in the timeframes that we were talking about, without having to complicate things within our IT structure at the office currently.
And they, does Blue Zones, the national organization, offer like an email address? Like if somebody sends an email to the Blue Zone staff, or is it at Blue Zones?
Right. The Blue Zones Corporation has an email address. In this situation, she will also have a health department email address that she will either forward to her Blue Zones,
Okay.
or vice versa. That little detail, we're still working out how to do it, but there'll be possibilities so that whatever she has can be transferred if she were to leave our facility. And, really, we were just looking at what makes most sense for security and having the right access and, all of those kinds of things. And so I reviewed this pretty extensively with our IT department, and they're confident that, this will work out and be easily transferable if the time were to come for that.
What about being able to access the building at night in case they need night meetings and that type of thing?
Yeah, she'll have key card access to the building, and, is agreeing to, our rules about building use, and, we'll have those same expectations just as any of our staff
So
do.
they'll be able to use it.
I guess my question is for Michael. Is there any problem because they're not county, that they're in a county building? Is there any issue with that legality-wise? Or funding that they're going to be paying for the net, or the health department's funds will be used for something other than a governmental entity?
From a building perspective, no, it really is the programmatic, and that's in Colette's wheelhouse, if you may. So the health department, the HIPAA, those issues, funding, those are covered then, from our perspective as a building, there's nothing that would jeopardize anything.
And the funding, because it's funding for the health department, I mean, is this gonna be an issue? Just asking that.
again, that really comes down to Colette and any of their grants and reimbursements. If there aren't any issues there, I can't think of any at our end.
Okay, thank you.
If I might just compare this to what happened with Cherry Health, when Cherry Health moved into our building initially, they were a separate entity than the health department, and they were using the county building and, working alongside us. It's very similar to that. It's just not at the same scale that Cherry Health was. And so it's just, in this case, it's going to initially just be one individual.
I see here, it says if additional permanent space is needed, Berry County Health Department do its best to accommodate, but yet we have a letter of agreement that either party can get out of it, and with a 30-day written notice. Permanent space kind of bothers me a little bit.
I think I was just distinguishing between, earlier in the letter of agreement, we speak about flexible space for the volunteers. And so what I meant by permanent in that context was, if Blue Zones expands from one staff person to 2 staff people, so therefore they need 2 workstations, we would evaluate at that time if we could meet that request or not. And that's what I meant by permanent in that, not in terms of permanent forever, just within the constraints of the agreement.
So that could be changed to temporary then.
Well, it's just within the constraints of the agreement that certainly if at some point I say it's a 30, we're giving you 30 days notice, we would give them 30 days notice, or they could do the same.
Any other questions for Colette? Seeing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners the attached letter of agreement between the Barry Eaton District Health Department and Blue Zones LLC to provide office space. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? No? The item is approved.
We'll be coming back with greater details once the project gets rolling. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dull.
Everybody gets it?
At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to transfer $1,000 from the Drain Commission line item budget for travel, line item 101-275-861-000, to the line item budget for gas and oil, line item number 101-275-745-000, and to transfer $2,000 from general fund contingency 101-890-960-000 to the Drain Commission line item budget for gas and oil 101-275-745-000.
Support.
Support by Gibson, second by Smoker. Floor is yours.
Glad you put all that stuff in there. I'd hate to have to read through that. Tammy came to me about a month and a half ago and said we're running low on money for gas. It's been an exceptionally busy year, I guess you might call it. So I pulled a copy of we have our oil changes done up at Fox Chevy. That's the cheapest place. I mean, I'll recommend to anybody for Chevy to get a oil change for $42. Pretty cheap. So they give me the documentation because we were trying to figure out why we're running out of money, what did we do wrong. We're allotted $3,500 a year. That was the old, that's been for I don't know how long. That truck gets about 9 miles per gallon typically on average. So that gives us about 1,100 gallons a year, which gives us an average of 28. We can drive an average of 28 miles a day year round on that. So when we started looking at the numbers, from August to November, we averaged 33 miles a day. August to November, we averaged 42 miles a day. It was a little slower in the winter. We averaged 33 miles a day. And from May to middle of July, we were up to an average of 65 miles a day.
Put your sightseeing.
Well, we could do that. Michael and I and Tammy had a discussion about billing the mileage directly to the drains. But we get a lot of calls where people have drainage issues that aren't on county drains. And we have our choice of saying, it ain't our problem, or going out and looking at it and see what we can do for the people. And we typically drive out, whatever flooding they have, we try to look at it and try to help them with some kind of a solution. So that's how we end up with not as much gas. As of the July deal, we had about $700 left in the account out of $3,500. So we asked for 3,000 more. We've spent almost 3,000 to date, and I don't think the end of this year is going to be any slower than the beginning of this year. So.
Any questions for Jim?
Has nothing to do with generator gas.
No, that's a whole different animal.
Vivian?
Are you saying this is or isn't gonna get you through to the end of the year?
It should, we spent 3,000 so far, half of the year. We got 700 left, or about 500 left. And if we get another 3,000, I would expect will get us through the end of the year.
All right.
I'm guessing about $600 a month. The rest of the year is what we calculated based on the bills that we're getting.
Any other questions?
I guess does it include excavator or just the truck?
Basically, that's the truck. There's a little bit in the excavator, but not very much. That excavator is phenomenal. We can run 2 to 3 days on 10 gallon. So when we use it, it doesn't use much manning.
That's not what's using the fuel. Vehicle.
We've got, when I took that truck over in 2017, it had 6,000 miles. It's got 37,000 miles on it now. It's a lot of running.
Is that a 3/4 ton or
3/4 ton. I don't know what they did to it to get such poor mileage.
gas?
Never seen a 6-liter that got quite that bad of mileage. It don't matter if you got the trailer on or not.
Any other questions? Hearing none. The question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to transfer $1,000 from the Drain Commission line item budget for travel to the line item budget for gas and oil, and to transfer the $2,000 from the general fund contingency to the Drain Commission line item budget for gas and oil. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McManus, did we lose him? Nope, there he is.
Morning.
Good morning. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the Michigan Department of Agriculture, Farmland, and Open Space Preservation Program application, more commonly known as PA 116, number 19-1 for Dennis DeYoung, DeYoung Farmland LLC in Section 31 of Orangeville Township.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Geiger, support by Jackson.
So this is a relatively small piece, just 10 acres in size, located in Orangeville Township. The Planning Commission reviewed it. It is planned and zoned rural residential, which allows agricultural use by right. 9 of the 10 acres are tillable, so met all the requirements, and we recommended it be approved.
Is it in conjunction to other properties or just?
It may be, but if it were, it would be in Allegan County.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. McManus? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the Michigan Department of Agriculture, Farmland, and Open Space Preservation Program application, more commonly known as PA 116, number 19-1 for Dennis DeYoung, DeYoung Farmland LLC in Section 31 of Orangeville Township. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. The next question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the Michigan Department of Agriculture, Farmland, and Open Space Preservation Program application, more commonly known as PA 116, number 19-2, for Michael Bueller, Brady Bueller, in the section of 11 of Irving Township.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gibson, second by Parker.
Yeah, similar here, we reviewed it at the Planning Commission meeting. It's a 20-acre parcel. This would be kind of tied in with a lot of Bueller acreage in Irving Township. Planned and zoned as rural residential, which again allows agricultural use by right, so was recommended for approval.
Any questions? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the Michigan Department of Agriculture, Farmland, and Open Space Preservation Program application, more commonly known as PA 116, number 19-2, for Michael Bueller, Bradley Bueller in Section 11 of Irving Township. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. And the last one for Mr. McManus would be to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of text amendment A1-19, which strikes section 1505.3 under the mixed use MU zoning classification.
So this is a text amendment.
I
under-
need a
Support.
Okay.
Or,
Gibson, a move by Gibson, support by Geiger. There you go, Mr. McManus.
But he jumped.
You know.
This is a text amendment under the zoning ordinance, which does require Board of Commissioner approval. Section 1505-3 basically was a requirement that commercial institutional uses in the mixed-use district require public sewer and water hookup. When the ordinance was adopted, we anticipated that there would be expansions of public water and sewer around some of these areas. That has not happened. Yet we're getting a number of applications, and in fact, the Planning Commission has made a number of approvals in some of these mixed-use areas, which is a lot of our unincorporated areas of Berry County. So places like Dowling, Orangeville, parts of Delton, Banfield, places like this, where we want some of these commercial types of uses to go. We've approved them without the public sewer and water hookups, so this really does need to be struck. That doesn't mean the health department's not going to have any reviewing. They do. So the whole process will still be checked and double-checked to make sure that any activity is approved through the health department before Planning Commission approvals.
Is this gonna have any effect on some of our local, grow operations that maybe don't have connections to city water and sewer?
Not necessarily.
Will this get rid of the clause that says maybe that commercial grow?
Could. I don't, yeah, so it depends on what the licensing is. There is a potential operation in one of our districts that would fall into this area. So, and they're trying to get approvals for it.
Any other questions?
Are any of these commercial applications,
Yeah.
is sewer and water perhaps in the area, but they fall outside the requirement that you have to hook up? In other words, they maybe could hook up, but because they're more than so many feet away from it, is that happening at all?
This isn't really that type of a case, so we
Okay.
just approved, for example, the Dollar General in Orangeville. There's no public sewer and water anywhere near it. There was a plan at one time to run it down Marsh Road into Orangeville. There have been plans over the years to expand, obviously around the city of Hastings with joint planning. Hastings Township at one time that had a plan to run sewer all the way down to M79. Southwest Berry County Sewer and Water could expand. They simply haven't. But we've replaced gas stations. We added some Dollar Generals or some other kinds of retail activities. The Planning Commission felt that these needed to be approved. It does help the community and the county. And again, they are receiving health department approval, so it's not being neglected. It's just not public.
I just wondered, because I know a lot of the sewers, if you're so far away from, you don't have to hook up. So I wondered if
Yep.
there were any of those going on.
Yeah, this will not impact any sewer authority ordinances or any township ordinances that might require things. So if they're within that distance, they do have to hook up.
Right. I would just hope that they would hook up if they were only 50 feet
Sure.
more, is that they would still be required to hook up.
Any other questions? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of text amendment A-1-19, which strikes section 1505.3 under the mixed use MU zoning classification. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Under Sheriff Housley.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to spend $5,836.98 to repair the cement steps and landings at the rear entrance of the Berry County Sheriff's Office with funds to be paid for from the Building Rehabilitation Fund.
I'd make that motion.
Moved by Connor.
Support.
Support by any number of the gentleman Jackson, please. The floor is yours.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Our steps to the rear of the building are starting to erode. We've had noticed some movement in them, some separation, some of the typical erosion, but then this morning I was reminded that those steps were installed 43 years ago. So anybody who's been around for 43 years knows things start to erode, I'm guessing. So, and that includes some of the building. This was actually not part of the original structure. There was an add-on, and the steps were built at that time. But we've been able to see far enough between the cracks to see that the erosion, some of the soil underneath of the steps is starting to erode based on just 43 years of rain, snow, sleet, and the rest of it. So we turned to our building and grounds, who gave us the name of Kent Home Services, as somebody that the county has used in the past, and they were happy with their services. And then so they came out immediately, gave us a quote, which you see in front of you. However, because it is the season, so to speak, the other companies that we've contacted have not yet gotten back to us. It's been almost 2 months now since we've decided to put the yellow tape around the steps to keep people from using it. Probably nothing would ever happen, but if just that what if thing, we decided we'd close it down. So to get in that back access door, which gets used 24/7, 365, they now have to go through either the lawn or through the garage entrance and up a different route. We're just looking to get that project started and move forward on this and get it fixed.
Any questions for Matt?
Just letting any water inside?
It is not so far. We have water coming from other sources into the basement, but not this one.
I heard there was water inside.
There is water inside coming from our boiler room, which is going to be another issue that we're going to have to deal with sooner or later. But what we do have is we have dirt in our parking lot that's washing out from under the steps, so we can see it coming out.
I did go down and look at them, and they really do need, they're in bad shape. They need fixed.
Questions? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to spend $5,836.98 to repair the cement steps and landings at the rear entrance of the Berry County Sheriff's Office with funds to be paid from the Building Rehabilitation Fund. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vandermark. Sorry for the delay. It was. We took a couple weeks off in July. So the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the attached appraisal contract to finish equalization studies in the northeast part of the county for residential and agricultural classes, and to transfer $7,645 from General Fund Contingency 010-890-960-000 to the Equalization Department budget contractual services line item 101-225-816-000.
So moved.
Moved by Parker,
Support.
support by Gibson. Floor is yours.
Morning. I've worked with these contractors quite a bit in Eaton County. They do a really good job, so I was recommending them. They do Chester Township and Benton Township, which is a big farm area just east of Nashville and Vermontville. Quite experienced. They also do the city of Charlotte, Eaton Rapids, and the city of Olivet. And they work rather quickly, and the quality is very high, so I thought that would be a good way to go. And I did check the previous contract that we had, that we used for commercial industrial a while back was $80 a parcel, so the rate of $55 a parcel is fairly reasonable. And so I think that should be a really big help to our office. Due to some of the difficulties we've had this year getting some of the GIS information and training new staff. Any questions?
Do we usually contract these services out?
We have previously, and then what happened is we were doing commercial industrial contracting about 3 years ago, and then we added clerical staff, and then this last year Rose has taken a position outside the county, so our staff is back down to where it was previously, so the staff is lower than it was. And so we're behind this year with meeting our state deadlines that are required for equalization studies. So this is a way to correct that problem.
On staff, would there be anything in salaries to make up for the contractual services?
No, because Rose was working in our office, but technically she was in, her budget was in another department. She was listed under IT.
Okay.
Any other questions for Tim? I know I had Rose come out and do my appraisal a couple years ago, so I'm familiar with seeing people look at stuff.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the attached appraisal contract to finish equalization studies in the northeast part of the county for residential and agricultural classes, and to transfer $7,645 from general fund contingency 101-890-960-000 to the Equalization Department for budget contractual services line item 101-225-816-000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Madam Chair, I would move.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Here
all
we
right.
go again. To approve, the chair would entertain a motion to approve in accordance with the Airport Commission Joint Operating Agreement, the expenditure of $6,524 to purchase a Simplicity Cobalt zero-turn commercial mower from Vern's Repair and Sport for the Hastings City Berry County Airport, and to approve an amendment to the Hastings City Berry County Airport Budget Fund Number 295, increasing expenditure line item number 295-895-977-000 from $3,000 to $9,524.
I make that motion.
Moved by Connor, support by Smelker. There you go.
Thank you, and Commissioners Connor and Smelker can certainly weigh in. They, as appropriate, they serve on the Airport Commission, but in accordance with the agreement between the city, the county, and the Airport Commission to operate the airport, expenditures in excess of, I believe the threshold now is $5,000, require both the approval of the city and the county. So the Airport Commission at their last meeting received a bid. They advertised for bids, solicited bids, publicly, only received one bid, that being attached from Vern's Repair and Sport for a lawnmower. To replace an existing one, the Airport Commission is recommending that the bid be accepted and awarded, including what's considered bid assistance. That's the effectively the government purchasing amount, as well as trading in the existing mower that they have, thus a $10,199 bid is a $6,524 purchase. I'd be happy to try to answer any.
Was, the other one a zero turn too? There isn't that many trees out there, is there, that they need zero turn?
Zero turn just mows faster, yeah.
Excuse me.
Your tractors, simplicity tractors will cost all right up there with the zero turn.
It's a lot of grass to mow.
What you do have is the speed as
Yeah,
well
the
as,
speed,
as
yeah.
all of the runway lights. So you have a whole lot of
Oh, okay.
3 foot or
All right.
obstacles that, to move around real quickly and,
Okay. Just curious.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to approve in accordance with the Airport Commission Joint Operating Agreement, the expenditure of $6,524 to purchase a Simplicity Cobalt zero-turn commercial mower from Burns Repair and Sport for Hastings City, Berry County Airport, and to approve an amendment to the Hastings City, Berry County Airport Fund number 295, increasing expenditure line item number 295-895-977-000 from $3,000 to $9,524. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we need a break or anything?
Yeah,
This next item could be a little time consuming. Let's take 5 and let Stacy